definitely hear the
Definitely do not have some amazing mastered. I do think I should go and save Adam from the noise though. Gingers are just not designed to sunbathe.
So apparently, these are almonds.
Stop looking so happy with yourself.
Almost 2 years ago, we left it all behind for a chance at the sailing adventure of a lifetime.
It has not been smooth sailing since then, but together we are learning and laughing our way through.
Our hope is that if we laugh long enough, we can make our merry way around the world.
And this
is a Millennial Falcon.
If you've been watching along for a little while now, you'd know that we've been in our current spot, Grand Mal, for quite some time. Having been unceremoniously chased out of St George by the Coast Guard just 2 miles south of here, we made for the nearest place we could get a hook in.
Oh, I can't talk, I'm too annoyed.
Coast Guards came to our boat. In fact, they didn't come to our boat, they hit our boat and then quite rudely told us that we had to move. It's now 3:30, quarantine, our curfew is at 7 and now we need to find a new place to go.
We quickly began to enjoy having the place almost entirely to ourselves and decided to hook into some rather large boat jobs that we had been putting off whilst we were hosting family throughout the initial lockdown period. Having got the green light to make a huge mess
that Adam has made, / progress.
We got stuck into realigning our engine,
installing our new Sigma Drive, we cleaned and painted the entire engine, we overhauled and replumbed the manual bilge pumps.
We installed 3 new turning blocks at the mast base, as well as clutch blocks and deck organisers in the cockpit.
And we tore apart the galley to install our new isotherm Cruise 130 fridge. And as a cherry on top, Khiara decided to get artistic and did a spectacular job on a resin poured countertop for the galley, which you'll see as part of its own episode coming very soon.
Good morning. So it's been a little while since we've gone for a sail. And as I'm sure that you've noticed, our sailing channel is lacking a wee bit of sailing. So today it wasn't too bad actually, the weather, and it's maybe a little less windy than we would have liked, but we're quite eager to go for a sail and just to get out of this bay. Oh, when I say there's not enough wind, I mean that the microphone is getting blown around. Sorry, it was actually a bit windy there, just when I thought that there wasn't going to be enough wind today. We are going to head round to another bay called Montrouge. Apparently it's quite a nice bay, we've seen it on the way as well. The water looks really nice, and we met another cruiser who said that there are almond trees there. And I know it's so lame, but see if I can pick an almond, which will be a first. So we're getting ready to go for a sail. Picking up a bit more wind?
Yeah, we'll see. It was due to pick up slightly in the afternoon. I'm hoping for at least a 10 to 12 knots. This is the first chance to test out our new turning blocks and our new clutches as well.
Pulling the anchor up might take some time. We've been here for a little while and we have been spinning non-stop in this bay. I reckon we do about 5 or 6 laps around every day, so I think our chain's going to be pretty caught up. It'll smell real good later. Crabs and everything.
Oh yeah.
I have to say that the engine feels so smooth, like crazy smooth. I almost can't feel it like underneath my legs. It's never as if it was like that loud or made that much of a vibration, but in comparison this just feels like nothing, which is more unusual. Yeah, this Sigma Drive is definitely working. Definitely working. Pretty cool. Adam's just asked me, is the engine still on? It's like, I can't feel a thing. Obviously he usually feels the engine from up the front as well, and neither of us can feel anything. It's crazy. This Sigma Drive is pretty freaking amazing. trying to throw a sail up, but at this stage our propeller is so dirty because we went on the recommendation of quite a few people who were astounded that we painted our prop. They said they've never ever done that for their prop. So we didn't paint our prop this time when we went out the water. Lo and behold, it's just got a phenomenal amount of growth on it. And both Adam and I have just said, no, next time we're just going to paint our prop. For us, it's the norm. For the amount of growth that we've gotten in the last 3 months is just absolutely insane, and I would just prefer to paint our prop with anti-fouling. Regret not doing that now. It definitely has a lot of growth on, and it sounds a wee bit imbalanced now, so we're just going to head to this anchorage, which isn't too far away, and apparently has a lot nicer waters, so it'll be a bit more pleasant to clean our hull in there. I do think I should go and save Adam from the noise though. He hates hearing the engine, so I'll go and save him.
There's only two things that have changed. The prop's dirty and the coupling. And I really don't think this noise will be caused by the coupling. There's no adverse movement, so it's got to be a grubby prop. It's just carrying on, not settling right. It's imbalanced. I'm annoyed. I'm sick of bloody having problems like this.
So we're all anchored. It dropped off really quickly. It was it suddenly went from 20 feet to just 13 and shallowing. So we dropped a hook in about 13 feet and we've come back to about 14 feet, which is very shallow, considering that the last anchorage that we were in ranged from about 25 to 40 feet, depending on our swing room. And we can actually see the bottom here. It's like beautiful blue bottom. But anyway, it's good for swimming and specifically good for cleaning our hull. So we're gonna hop in the boat. We're gonna hop in the water now and go and see what's up with that propeller. I started to feel seasick in the water, if that was even possible.
So we had a look below, and I don't know if the keen amongst you probably noticed in the clip when we were down there that as I was shaking the shaft there was some movement, and you could definitely hear the dugga 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 as I clunked along on the propeller, which can only mean that the Cutless bearing is cooked, which is really strange. And Khiara and I are both scratching our heads saying sort of how did we miss that, because I've been down there like once a week every week for 3 months and it's been rock solid. And the only thing that I can think of, and I'm quite sure this is what it is that we've changed the alignment. So on the way here I said, oh, it can only be the dirty prop. It's all we've changed, and it can't be the Sigma Drive because that's supposed to absorb vibration. And all those things are true, but I neglected to mention that we have realigned the engine, and we made I think we made a massive improvement, and it was pretty bad if you ask me prior. And so what I suspect has happened is that the misaligned shaft has worn its own track, if you will, in the Cutless bearing, which has sort of not really shown up as a loose Cutless bearing because it's just worn its way into its own spot, and subsequently it's not really worn out, but it's just kind of supported where it wants to be supported. And now that we've straightened it out, its previous path where it's worn its way into the rubber or whatever it is now manifesting as a gap, which is allowing it to flog around. In addition to that, the zinc, which I'm sure you noticed, was completely cooked, absolutely cooked. So we got about 3.5 months, 4 months out of that before it was completely, utterly done. So I suspect also what's contributing to the accelerated wear was a build-up of calcium carbonate on the shaft between the cutlass bearing. So we'd been, as I said earlier in the video, we've been sat at Grand Mal for quite some time doing a lot of jobs, basically being dead in the water because we were messing around with the shaft, and so the shaft wasn't getting turns, and subsequently growth was pretty out of control. So I reckon that when we first put turns on the prop after all that work, there was a big build-up of calcium carbonate on the shaft, which has pretty well shredded the cutlass bearing. That, in conjunction with the realignment, has left it just almost cooked overnight, or apparently cooked overnight. So it's really frustrating, and I'm really annoyed at myself for not picking that up sooner, or even just figuring out prior to symptoms manifesting that maybe the cutlass bearing needs to be changed, despite not being, not showing any signs of wear. But it's just one of those lessons. If you mess with your alignment, having been running with it poor, or having been running with poor alignment for some time, you should preemptively change your cutlass bearing anyway, because there's a really good chance that it's cooked, as is the case with us. So hopefully, we've got a haul out booked. I'm so annoyed, I'm really annoyed. So we're just gonna have to take it in the teeth and just go back to beans and rice for a little while and just get this handled, and hope that when we splash down that is what it was, and that it's all behind us. A couple of people in the bay here that have pulled up after us, we sort of got to chatting with them, and they suggested that we do it in the water. And frankly speaking, I could do the job in the water. The only reason I don't want to do it in the water is because we had problems with the Whitworth threaded bolts that hold on the cutlass bearing housing once before. One broken bolt away from a 3-day ordeal. That's exactly what's going to happen here. Oh, I can't do this without using colourful language. It's ridiculous. So we've been charged $400 bleeping for these bleeping bolts. This is the nut from the original shaft that broke. It doesn't fit. They assured me that it's Wentworth. I've put it in and it's threaded this tube and absolutely trashed the new bolt. And I'd really hate to have one of those bolts break while we're sort of 5 miles from the nearest yard and needing a tow. Also, the cutlass bearing housing is threaded onto the stern tube, and then the 4 bolts go on. It's got a seal, like a silicon seal, not silicon, like 4200 or caulking or whatever you use, Sikaflex, something like that. You sort of press it in and seal it down on a gasket, or a seal gasket, which kind of controls the amount of water flow that goes into the stern tube. I don't think it would be a huge problem to run with that seal less than perfect, or absent, because I mean it's a wet tube anyway. Like, the stuffing box is what keeps the water out, not that seal. In fact, you kind of want water flow through the cutlass bearing. I just want everything done right so that I can put it behind us and we can go and have some fun.
Whilst the situation was extremely frustrating, we didn't want it to get the better of us, and to waste the time that we had in such a beautiful place. So we put our frustrations aside and went ashore to check out the beach. Would you like to tell people what this gorgeous paradise is?
Well, it's a little bay called Mon Rouge, and we've never been here before, but it's quite lovely. The holding is pretty good, and it's really shallow. Like where the boats are out there, there's like 6 or 7 feet under the keel, so you wouldn't want to come in too much closer, but the holding's really good, and it's quite sunny and a nice little bit of breeze, and it's not too rolly. It gets a little bit rolly when the wind dies off, but that's like that everywhere. And yeah, so far so good, pretty secluded, so we thought we'd come ashore and just I don't know, spend a day on the beach, really, get away from it all, take the day away from the internet, away from the phone, and just read a book on the beach. We haven't done that in like weeks and weeks.
It's also a good excuse as well to get away from the rolliness. When the wind doesn't blow, it does get a wee bit rolly. So I demanded that we come and have a lovely beach day and actually read a book for once on the beach. So Adam has grudgingly, of course, obliged. And
twist my arm to drink cocktails on the beach.
Yeah, I really had to twist his arm on this one. Yeah, anyway, so we're gonna enjoy a beautiful day at the beach.
This is why we don't spend very long snoozing on the beach, because invariably one of us gets very bored.
Because I get crushed. We just
You can't really lay on the
definitely do not have sunbathing mastered.
We need to be on task, I think.
Gingers are just not designed to sunbathe, so I'm going to go for a little walk this way. Apparently these are almonds. I'm not gonna lie, I did try hacking into one and I did not find an almond inside, but apparently they only when they're ready to eat do they drop off the tree, and then they are almonds. But that's fine, at least I've seen an almond in real life. Not that almonds in shops aren't really real life. Awesome day at the beach. Tonight we're gonna head back and yeah, just a nice sunset drink on the back.
The following afternoon, one of our mates, who we're now calling Uncle Craig, swam over to the boat to lend me some perspective on the problem, which we'd been discussing at length on the beach the day prior. We both agreed that the movement in the Cutless bearing was somewhere in the vicinity of 1 millimetre, and not something to get wrapped around the axles about. But wanting to press further, we decided to take it for a test run.
To maybe deal with the noise.
You're still getting used to that. How long has that prop been on? It's been a while
Really
now,
since
hasn't it?
March, to be honest. Last time we hauled, I put it on properly.
Yeah.
And we've done very little dry. We've been between here, Prickly Bay, St George here, and Grand Mall with it. So I've been trying to run it up, and this is the first cause for first pause it's ever given me.
Yeah, I don't think
First moment's pause. And this
Like
is
right now it
the
feels
only
fine,
thing-
doesn't it?
Oh, this is light.
Yeah, I
I know. True.
wouldn't be hauling out to
Sort that out.
I'd let it go for a bit, unless you want to haul out to something else.
Not really. Just paint it so that I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, because I mean, there's absolutely no issue below, so the only issue you're feeling is down there, and that prop probably gives you a different sound
does,
to what you're used to.
I wouldn't worry unless I had heard it like without
okay.
messing up the alarm, or not messing up, fixing the alarm.
Satisfied that the motoring noise was something I could learn to live with, at least until our next haul out, we decided we would test the propeller whilst feathered to see how it behaved under sail. So we ran the engine up to full power, achieved 7 knots, cut the power and let it feather as it would under sail.
Are you gonna cut it? Oh. Completely and utterly stopped.
Hey?
The
shaft stopped.
shaft's
Do you
completely
hear
and utterly stopped.
I just don't think there's anything.
You stop looking so happy with yourself.
Craig said it might not be too bad.
Pause to do a haul out like.
Yeah, I'm being conservative.
Well, I mean, certainly not.
very conservative.
I need this decision on camera.
We will. I'm not going to say no, but I'm happy to. We'll press further tests. So we'll can the haul out tomorrow. I respect Craig's opinion. He's done a lot of boating, and I know that I'm super conservative, and I just want it behind me. But perhaps my conservatism might lead us to piss $400 up against the wall that would otherwise be spent another time. So what we'll do, Khiara, we will do our run up to Carriacou when the moment presents itself. And if after that it's excruciating or gets worse, I'll insist. But if it's no change and the operating seems fine, then we'll wait. Does that make you happy, little Miss Bean Counter?
And it's a light day on Wednesday, Thursday, so you might have to
So
do
we'll be
motoring as
motoring.
well.
Yeah, I'm sure. For sure. You always.
We're not hauling out tomorrow. Yay!